Yeah, hi. Hello everyone. Today we'll be trying to understand what is caching and how it helps us to load things faster. Okay. So first understand the problem. Problem is suppose you want every time you open an app or a website, it has to fetch the data from the DB as a data we are stored in the database only. So every time we have to make an API call to fetch the data from the DB, and DB is generally we have two separate things only, like API server is different and database servers are different. That involves a network call from one server to another server to in order to fetch the data. Network calls means involves TCP handshake also. This is costly. So every time you fetch the data, it becomes slow and expensive because at the same time multiple users are also trying to approach the same data. So the solution to this is we can store the frequently used data in the memory, and that is what is called caching. Like for example, suppose you know that users you have a dashboard in which when you log in you get the list of users every time. So recently added users that should be shown to the in the dashboard. So for that you can do is you can add that in the at the caching layer. uh, you can keep it in memory, or you can use some deep, other caching layer, so that you can fetch the data quickly rather than going to the database. So that is one solution. How it works is, so traditionally what is happen is you have a client is requesting to from data from server goes to the database, fetches the data, and server returns back the response to the client. So this is the default way. So when we use cache, what happens is, so when a client is requesting for the data, server it first checks in the cache. If the same data is found, then it will return the data. Okay, and if that data is not present in the cache, it will go and fetch the data from the DB, it will put it in the cache, and then it will return to the client. So what will happen because of that? So first request will be slower because the data is not present in the cache, so it will by default go to the DB, and then it will from then the subsequent request will be parsed and will be returned from the cache. So from next time onwards you don't have to go to database. There is also one concept called TTL. TTL is time to live. So how long the cache will be there in the in memory. Why do we need this? Because, so for example, in our previous example, like in the dashboard you have to show the list of users. Suppose you have 100 users at the now, and then you have cached in your in memory in the server. Now if number of users getting increased, so now you have to show the recent data also. So for that, how the server and the in memory cache will know that, okay, now there are new data is been added, so we have to show that data and we have to cache that data so that it is used for faster retrieval. So for that we have a concept called TTL. TTL is nothing but time to live, and we can mention a time that after this particular time the cache will get invalid or the cache will be removed. So what will happen is, suppose you give a TTL of 10 minutes, so after 10 minutes that particular cache will be automatically destroyed. We have to write a code for that to get that cache deleted from the in memory. So what will happen is, after 10 minutes the server will not fetch the data from the cache miss will be found because that the cache will be deleted from the in memory server. Then it will go to the DB, it will fetch the new users, and new 100 users will be available, and then that will be returned to the client. So this is how caching helps, and it helps you scale the systems. Okay. Next I'll show you how it helps you in the website level. For example, let's go to a website. So you can see, when you go to network tab, I'll just disable this cache. Imagine this is a fresh load. Okay, no, this is a cache. Okay, I'll just have to do a reload. So I did a hard reload, so you can see all these data like images, CSS, the JavaScript and the HTML. Everything has been freshly fetched from the server to get this data in display. Next thing, if I now reload, what will happen is everything is reloaded from the cache. Nothing is gone to the database. You can see here memory cache. Okay, so this is the default behavior of the browser. So browser caches whatever is the static data. So for example, this font.cs, it's a static data. It is not going to change. You have not written any specific logic that on every refresh it should get changed. So this is the static CSS images. These are all static data. These are not going to change. So browser has a default behavior of whatever are static. You can cache that. Okay, so this is how browser behave. You don't have to write any specific code for that. If you want, you can write a specific code to expire the cache, but that part is out of scope. Okay, next I'll show you a Node.js demo that will help you. It's a JavaScript demo that will help you to understand how caching works internally. So first let me show you a code. Cache is nothing but a key value pair. So the key is nothing but the request that you are sending, and value is the actual value that you want to display in the UI. Okay, so key is basically a simple hash key. So you can use a simple hash function. If that hash is present in the cache, then that it will return its value, else it will go to the database and it will fetch the data. So here this is a node JavaScript, plain JavaScript, giving an idea of how it will work. The similar it will work in Node.js. You have to just write on top of this you have to write a simple hash function that will keep the data in the in memory, and it will invalidate the cache after a particular time. Okay, so for example, this is first is a run method. I'm doing two run. I'm calling this two methods. Get data one. This is the first time call, and this is the second time call. I'm calling same method, but for this is first time, this is second time, passing the same data. So what it will do, it will go to get data. Get data is nothing but here it is. This is the main part. Here we will check first this particular data which the user is requesting is present in the cache. If it is present in the cache, then we will directly return it from the cache. Else we'll fetch it from the DB and we'll return that data. So fetch from DB is nothing but not actual database call, but it's I've just resolved a promise after 2000 milliseconds. Ideally 2000 we will take that it will require 2000 milliseconds for randomly. It should not take more than that, but assume like a DB call takes a 2000 milliseconds. So for that I will give it 2000 milliseconds. Now I'll just run this code. So first time it will go to the DB, and second time it will fetch the data directly from the cache. You can see the cache means fetching the data from the DB. You see it was slow because I've just given a timeout of 2000 milliseconds. So first time it went to the DB, it got fetched the data. Second time it got the data, it didn't go to the DB call, fetch from the DB, and directly in the second call it gave a response in milliseconds. First response was in 2 seconds, second response in milliseconds. This is the same way how caching works. How you can make your application very much scalable. So this is why you this is how you give a user a cache so that your application is loaded much faster. See, the most common example of caching are the CDNs. Okay, you can cache the static data of the CDNs. Let me just check if I have any CDN over here. Query main. Oh, it's going to Ajax only. No, all are there hosted in CDNs. No, so CDNs are one more option. Like their job is only to provide static data. So CDN majorly used for caching. CDN can cache anything that is static, image, static JSON responses, videos. It can cache anything based on the TTL. It will expire and it will fetch the new data. So if you want, you can go have a walkthrough of how CDN works. So basically they are used for caching purposes. Okay. Yeah, thank you. If you have any doubts, please let me know on that. Yeah, thank you.